Woohoo! I made it. This is our second transit video. Woohoo! So I'm so proud of myself. That is going to be my biggest challenge, just getting the transits done and doing them ahead of time so y'all can plan, you know? So that's going to be something I hope that you keep an eye on me about. So Aquarius full moon. This is exciting because Aquarius has been the trigger sign for a lot of things. In the gene keys, we're talking about key 19. That's also the gate 19 for human design, or and in quantum design, that gate is called the gate of attunement. So I love that because I love Karen Curry Parker's and I work, and I love the name for that. Attunement is really, it really speaks to what makes this energy, this key, exceptional and exciting. And in the codependency piece, they're talking about the shadow of needing others, right? Of needing um, more emotional support or more even other kinds of support that is over and beyond. It's asking, often codependency asks too much because it's so much one-sided a lot of times because the other person has to be the dependable one, right? But if we are doing interdependence, then that goes back and forth. And they do talk about that in the gene keys. Richard Red talks about that in the gene keys. So when we're thinking codependency, we're thinking of needing others to survive. Okay. And the more that we understand ourselves, our natures, we know that we are sovereign. We can find and find the resolutions by ourselves. But in our early days, in the travel days, it wasn't so easy. And so this is just a pattern that has turned into this frequency. Well, the frequency is what started it, and the pattern developed around it. But what I love about that is that it basically means that we are emotionally sensitive. Now, we are highly sensitive, usually, if we're talking about the people that are living, working, and experiencing this key, right? And so the gift is sensitivity. So I tell people all the time, being highly sensitive, being an empath is a superpower, which we know, right, in our community. But sometimes you don't understand why. And that's going to be our insight into how to use this into marketing this time around. So why is it so powerful to be sensitive? Well, for a leader, it's powerful because you have a sense of your clients, of your audience. You can feel into them, right? And because you can feel into them and because you're highly sensitive yourself, you're particular about a few things. It takes extra to support you as a highly sensitive person, most likely. And if you're not highly sensitive, there's still parts of your life where you need more support than others. And that's usually where you develop your insight and your leadership, right? Because you have so finely attuned and clarified what those needs are and what it requires to run sustainably and effectively, that you that's what makes you stand out in the marketplace. Okay, so what does that mean? Like for me, what I'm really sensitive to is that showing up, sharing our voice for my people is really hard. It's not just, oh, I don't feel like doing it. It is difficult for them to decide to show up in front of others and put themselves and their voices on the line for others to take, leave, or criticize, right? It is difficult, and so in a very visceral way, we have to have a support before we show up, right? I know that from experience because it's my lived experience, but I also know that from the clients that I've had and the conversations we've had around it and what we have done to implement that ability without pushing, right? What's sustainable. And that's another part of this function. It's not just what will work for now, it's what will be sustainable over the long haul, what you can keep doing, right? And for introverts, for highly sensitive people, to keep showing up and being visible is a big ask. to plan on coming back and again and again. So that's why I was saying this is my second video of transits. I'm already feeling the pressure, right? Like I'm already feeling the pressure to show up for every new moon and full moon, right? So that's something that I can tap into for my audience that a lot of people wouldn't even recognize. They'd be like, what? Just decide to do it and go, right? Or just try something on and do it, make some notes and go on, right? Like they don't understand the magnitude of that feeling for my clients, right? So what is that for your clients? What do you know that you have deep insight into because you've had to work harder at it, right? What do your clients need in a way that other people wouldn't, that didn't have that experience, understand, right? So that's something to talk about. And you talk about how you take care of your clients in a way that nobody else does. That'd be a great way to set up this time of the full moon. So the key itself is in play for usually about four days around. But the energy of the full moon and the wanting will also be the overarching theme, right? So the idea of 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 codependency versus the programming partner of forgetfulness, right? The idea of sensitivity over the programming partner, which is the opposition, which is the Leo, okay, of mindfulness, right, is going to be playing out through those 2 weeks until the new moon, right? And what is wanting to be released, right? So during that time, how are we noticing what wants to be done? Like, what are you depending on others for that you want to be able to do for yourself, right? So, and what the shadow, how do we notice where we might need some new support systems around codependency so that we can be more interdependent or independent? So where are we being overly codependent? Where are we waiting on others for us to feel like we can move forward? Is how I think of it. And on the opposition side, what wants to happen is that we want to remember. So the forgetting and the shadow of that opposition, 33, key 33 in Leo, is that we forget that we are spirit, that we are sovereign, that we have the full connection and support of the universe. When we forget that, we're less likely to take chances like getting visible and moving forward with our passions, unless we have like 1,000 verifiers, like 10 people give us permission and another person holding our hand, right? So what is that thing for you? It's probably where you can do the deep inner work, but how you've already done that work and how you can help others move through that problem faster is how you want to share in your marketing. The other component I like to think about is the way it adds to the human body. So when I think of that, I think of the human design graph, the body graph, and where it is located. So the key 19 is located in the root chakra, at the very bottom of the human body graph. And so it is the other side of the channel that connects to our emotions. So that emotion chakra is what we are trying to do around expansion. What do we need? What do we feel like we need to expand into in order to survive? To be sustainable is the more modern approach, right? Again, survival is based from human instincts over thousands and hundred thousands of whatever years, right? I don't know. So what our desire is and our attunement is to expand, is to get more um, territory, right? Like to expand the tribe, is expand in our abundance, to expand in our resources. And so when that happens, our bodies, that's how we developed our emotional body in our auric field, is to that we expanded our senses outward so that we could feel what's next or what needs to be done or what wants to be done beyond what we can know, see, touch, right? In that way, understand. So we expanded our ability to understand by using our emotions. So that is like the revolutionary piece, where before, our key 19s, the people who have a lot of strength here and sensitivity, who are highly sensitive, who are tend to be introverted, those people are actually the future. And that's the future of being human is actually the subtitle to the Gene Keys chapter, right? It is the future. To be able to sense past our physical bodies is what gives us the edge. It is the revolution. If you think about AI and that kind of thing, AI, like it's going to take over most of the human functions, a lot of them. I mean, not most, but at least a lot. We know that for sure. A ton. It's going to take over a ton of stuff, right? So, how do we evolve? How do we sustain and grow in spite of? Is by revolutionizing ourselves. How do we revolutionize ourselves? By tapping into our emotions. So it's the future of humanity. If you can't digest and understand your emotions and be able to sense where it wants to happen and where life is going and where how to be with life and how to support life and how to share life, then you have a hard time functioning in a time when most of the work is done by computers, right? And so it can be super scary. So are we living in that shadow of reaction of being afraid of what's coming? Or are we living in the revolution and the expansion that you're already feeling and tapping into that and into our resources? So that's my share on the transit. This went longer than I thought it would. I always have thoughts that I don't expect to come up, but I think this is a good place to stop, so that if you have any questions, if there's something more, if there's something coming up for you that you would like to talk about, this full moon is coming August 1st. So you have a few days to prepare for it, right? And to intentionally release the things that are old, that aren't going to suit you in the revolution, and the things that are coming and what's coming for your clients and how you can support them in what's coming in the revolution. So I hope that I get to hear some of your questions or comments, see what you thought about this, and I will catch you on the next transit. Talk to you next time.